Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Hi, and welcome to episode 324 of Martha Runs the World. I thought it would be fun today to talk about my very favorite running routes and hiking routes as well, wherever I've gone, and what I remember as being the best places. Now, this doesn't include every place I've gone, of course, but these are just my favorites that I could think of. Probably forgotten a few, but these are just some of the ones. Now, these can include race routes, but only those race routes that can be used as training runs. It doesn't include closed off streets, places that you can't normally run. So I'll start with San Francisco. There's a few places that I really like to run and walk. And there's places that I do have to train in, but they aren't necessarily the places that I love to go. One of the places that I like to really go, if I can't jump on a bus and go someplace else, is along the Embarcadero. I can run there from home. And that's a really nice place to go if I want to get a quick run in. And it is one of my favorite places, especially if the weather is nice and you can get views of the bay and the Bay Bridge. The Embarcadero is a long stretch of road that runs from up to around Fisherman's Wharf all the way down to the Giants Stadium. And it's fairly long, and you can get some really nice running in. It's very flat. If you want to go off the Embarcadero and go up to Coit Tower, you can get some hills in. Go through North Beach if you want. You can jump off there and go up to Nob Hill if you want to get more hills in. But you don't have to. If you want to remain flat and get just a few miles in, it's very nice. Or you can include it into a longer run. But it's a really nice place to go. My favorite place to run in San Francisco is the Presidio. And the Presidio used to be an old Army base. Actually did a whole episode on the Presidio much earlier, a few years ago. I will include the link to that episode in martharunstheworld.com, so you can check that out. It offers so much for families, for runners, for walkers, for hikers, for cyclists. There's many options in there, and you can include a lot of trails, a lot of paved routes in there, and you can add it to longer sections. If you want to do a really long run, you can add it to the Land's End. You can go down past Ocean Beach and add it to Golden Gate Park. There's just so much to it that you can make a really nice day out of it. It's big. It's a really big area, and it takes up the entire northwest corner of the city. It's really, really nice. And a lot of times when I go up there and take a different route, I find things that I've never seen before. So even if I run there a lot, like once a week, I still find stuff that's new to me. There's a really cool, challenging trail. It's not long, but it's still a nice trail called Batteries to Bluffs. And it's really nice. It mimics a lot of the single track trails that are available elsewhere. And it is a really good, challenging trail if you want something that will push you to your limits. And there's a lot of history up there too. So if you like history, that's a really great place to go. Another place that I like to run in San Francisco is, of course, Golden Gate Park. And I think everybody knows about Golden Gate Park. If you've never been there, it's really a delightful place to run. You can run on pavement or trails or a combination of both. There are so many places to go in there. It's a very big park. It's bigger than Central Park in New York, by the way. It's not as wide, but it's much longer. If you start at one end of the Panhandle and go all the way to Ocean Beach, it's about 4 miles long, so it's pretty nice. And if you want to include a lot of the trails in there, you can get a really nice long trail run in there, or even, like I said, a paved road run in there. Now, first, I would check out to make sure there's no big festivals or races happening, because they do tend to close off the park, and then it's not really very fun to go around there with all the crowds. So you want to make sure that there's no huge crowds there during the time that you want to run there. But it's pretty nice, and no matter what time of year you go there, it's going to be a great run. Now, the Marin Headlands is my favorite place in the whole world, and it's just north of San Francisco. It's just across the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just a great place to run. It's a whole open area. It's open space. It's free to anyone who wants to use it. There's hundreds of miles of trails for trail runners, hikers, walkers, cyclists, and horseback riders. There are beaches, historic sites, spectacular views. It might be windy up there. It might not be. It's foggy, nice weather, rainy, whatever it is. It's just a great place to go. You can sit and have a picnic and do nothing, or you can push yourself past limits you thought you had. There is virtually, you can do just about anything you want up there, outdoors wise anyway. I've been on nearly every trail in the area, and some can be challenging and some are easier than others. You can reach the headlands by car, or you can take Golden Gate Transit to get to a couple spots and then hike in. They used to have an SF Muni route that went there, but after COVID, they stopped it. Unfortunately, I wish they still had it because it brings you all the way into the park. The Golden Gate Transit routes, you have to hike a little ways into the headlands. So that makes it a little bit harder, a little bit longer, but it's still doable. There are a few areas with pit toilets and only a couple spots with water, so bring your own water. I wish they had more water spots, but they don't. Like at the Tennessee Valley Road, which is a nice place to park your car, they do not have water there, so bring your own water. They have water at Rodeo Beach and at the Visitors Center and the little church there on the other end of the valley area of Rodeo Valley. But that's really it until you get out of the Headlands area. Those are the only two places with water, so you have to really bring a bunch of water with you. But it just, you just have to plan it. And it's also where I fell and hurt my shoulders, so it's a place that I know pretty well. But it is a place that I'm going to also be spending a lot more time at for my training for my 50-mile run in June. I'll be up there quite a bit. Now, Mount Tamalpais is just north of the Headlands and north of Muir Woods National Park. And I love Mount Tam, as we call it. It's a great area. It's a little harder for me to get to without a car, but if you have a car, it's pretty nice. The area was sacred to Native Americans, and it stands looking ominous over the North Bay. You can't miss it, unless, of course, it's overcast or foggy. It's the only mountain of that size that's there. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. And the area is huge. There's tons of trails up there. I would say have either a map of the trail you want to do downloaded from All Trails or have a paper map, because you can get lost up there. And I have gotten lost up there. It took me a long time to get out of the area that I was in because I was following a ghost trail that disappeared on me. It just went away. And I had to get down off the mountain. That took me a couple more hours than I thought, and a few more miles. Let me tell you, it was pretty scary. But that was many years ago before I started running trails. There are some reservoirs up there that actually look like you're in the Sierra Nevadas. Alpine Lake is so beautiful, but you will think you were transported a couple hundred miles away. If you go in the rainy season or early spring, you will probably see some really nice waterfalls. Cataract Falls are really nice, and it's a great place to spend a bunch of miles and really push yourself. It is very nice up there. You can hike to the top of Mount Tam, and then you can go all the way down to Stinson Beach. There is a bus down there, but it gets very crowded, and really, if you want to take the bus back, you can at Stinson, but you probably can't take the bus all the way down off the mountain unless you take it from Stinson Beach. it gets packed. And if you try to hop on it at the top of Mount Tam, they will be full. Sorry, they will not take you. I've had that experience. Um, Now the Dipsea Trail is up there as well, and if you want to take the Dipsea Trail, you can do that. You can take the Dipsea Trail up into to Mount Tam or down to Cinza Beach and back, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of steps. Let me tell you, if you want to get your step work done, that's the place to do it. And I've also done a whole episode on the Dipsea, which I'll include a link to on the website, so you can see that. But it's a really nice area. It gets very hot in the summer if it's not foggy. But on warm days, it's very, very warm. But it's all year long. It's a really nice place to go. Huddard Park in San Mateo County. This is probably my favorite place in the San Mateo County area to go. It's a great county park in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a forested area. It's well maintained, beautiful little park. It's filled with redwood trees, ferns, very lush and green, lots of hills, great trails, really well marked. The county park is well cared for and offers some excellent trails of all abilities. Go early because it does fill up, especially as it gets towards summer. The families go out there. There's a lot of big picnics that happen out there. And you get to see these just beautiful coastal redwood trees. You might even see some deer if you go early enough because there's lots of deer in the area. It's just off the 280 freeway, and I think the town is Woodside, and it's well worth the windy drive to the park. Just be careful of the many cyclists that also use the road, because it can be a kind of a harrowing drive when you share it with the cyclists. Now, a bit farther south than Huddard Park, along the Skyline Drive, 35? It lies Skyline to the Sea Trail. I ran this race, the Skyline to the Sea 50K. That was supposed to be my first 50K. I ran that, and that was my first DNF. It did not finish. It goes straight from the top of Skyline to the ocean, and it goes through Big Basin State Park. Unfortunately, the whole area was devastated by wildfire a few years ago. It is coming back. It is slowly, the growth is growing and slowly coming back. The trail is open again. I don't expect that it looks the same as it once did, of course, but I imagine it is still beautiful and it would still be a really nice place to run. Now, it is about the length of a marathon. The trail is. So I would say if you want to do it, take a friend, have the friend drop one of the cars off both drive at the end, drop a car off, and then both drive to go together to the beginning, drop a car off there, and then go down and then pick up both cars. That would be the best way to do it, in my opinion. It's just a really, really beautiful course. Or if you just want to do it by yourself, do part of the course and then go down like 10 miles or so and then come back 10 miles. If you wanted to do that, you could do that. It's whatever you want to do. It's just well worthwhile. The Donner Summit Tunnels is another one of my favorite places. It's off Interstate 80, west of Lake Tahoe, near the Sugar Bowl Ski Resort. As a matter of fact, you go toward Sugar Bowl Ski Resort, and you just take a little right turn off this dirt road before you get to the resort itself. There are the Donner Summit Tunnels. Now, I don't know why they don't take better care of the area, why they don't have it listed, why they don't say, here's the tunnels, and they don't have a porta potty or something. They really need to take a little bit better care of the area because it's a really unique area, and it's just a beautiful, really cool thing to see. Now, these are the old train tunnels that were used for decades for trains going east to west and vice versa. But now they sit, and we're allowed to walk through them and have fun going through these dark, dank, and they are dank, passages before opening up to these majestic views of Donner Lake and the area and the Sierra Nevada beyond. Now, there's graffiti all over the insides of these tunnels, but it's considered art, and it's part of the tunnel's charm, so it's not something to be upset over. I mean, they're just these train tunnels, so it's not a big deal. It's about 1.5 miles through these tunnels to the end and back. Or if you want to go farther, you can go through them and then take the historic Donner Pass Trail, which makes it about 5 miles or so in total, something like that. If you look up the historic Donner Pass Trail on AllTrails, you can get the entire trail, and that will take you through where the Donner Party were stuck in the mountains during that winter. And look up what happened to the Donner Party. It's really, really an interesting and tragic story in California history, and what the whole area is named for. Now, the Tahoe Rim Trail is a 165 miles long trail, and it encircles all of Lake Tahoe. It is one of 3 long trails in California: the Tahoe Rim Trail, the John Muir Trail, and the Pacific Crest Trail. Those are the 3 long ones. The Tahoe Rim Trail is the shortest of the 3, being 165 miles long, but it's just so unique that it goes through the Sierra Nevadas, and then it goes to the east side of the lake and goes past Mount Rose, and it's a great trail. I've only been on a couple portions of it, a very, very small little bit of it, so I haven't done a whole lot. Many thru hikers finish this trail before they go on anything longer because it's doable in a vacation, because it only usually takes through hikers 10 to 14 days to do it, depending on how fast they are. Now, fast packers can do it in a few days. They can do it like in 4 or 5 days. But a regular through hiker who's just hiking and not doing any running or anything, it takes them a few more days. And there's also a couple races on the Tahoe Rim Trail. One of them is the Tahoe 200. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a really, really iconic race that has been there for quite a while. And what a glorious place for a long-distance race. The John Muir Trail is the second longest of the long-distance trails we have in San Francisco. It's named after one of the greatest conservationists in history, John Muir. It starts at Mount Whitney in the south end and ends in Yosemite Valley. It's 211 miles long and offers another shorter distance for those not ready to spend months on a through hike, but it offers a little bit more challenging because it goes through the Sierra Nevadas and you get the higher elevation. Well, you get higher elevation on the Tahoe Rim Trail, but maybe not as quite as high as the John Muir Trail, in that it also offers you to go hike up to the top of Mount Whitney if you can get the pass to do it. You have to apply for a pass. Not everybody who wants to go to the top can, if they don't win the lottery that they have for that. But now I backpacked a very small portion of the John Muir Trail many years ago for 5 days in my 20s. So that was a long, long time ago. It was really fun. I loved it. And I would love to do that again sometime, but not for a while, I don't think. But it was incredible to be so far away from the roads and to see things that are inaccessible for people in cars that you will never see unless you do backpacking, because you're not going to ever be so far away from the road unless you take a few days out and get way far away from civilization. It was really, really an experience. The Pacific Crest Trail, I've done a whole episode on the PCT. This is one of the great 3 trails. This is one of the 3 great trails that we have in the U.S. The other 2 are the Appalachian Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. It's 2,650 miles long, and it takes months to accomplish the entire distance. Now, I've only done 2 small portions of this trail. Well, 2, 3, maybe 3 small portions in day hikes and trail runs. And probably, if you include this in the John Muir Trail, I did part of it on my hike, on my backpacking trip when I was younger too. So maybe 4. I don't know if you count that. I don't know how that works. It's not really even a bite. I'd love to do some more because it does run all the way from Campo in the desert right by the Mexican border, all the way up to the Oregon border. So there's a lot to do and there's a lot to cover. And you can start anywhere and just do a day hike if you want and jump off it and then do another hike. You can do it in sections, sectional hikers, they call them. But it's just such an amazing trail and an amazing organization that takes care of them. But I loved doing part of it. I even did a part of it when my hip was hurt. It was painful, but it was still fun to be out there on the trail. Before I ever got my hips replaced, I was still active until I would say a month before I got my right hip replaced. That was when I really could hardly walk anymore. And it was like, oh, I really, really need this replaced. But before that time, I was active no matter what. It didn't matter. I still needed to move. The Mount Shasta Gateway Trail, I ran a 50K at the base of Mount Shasta, and it went up to about 8,000 feet. Now, Mount Shasta stands at a little over 14,000 feet and is second only to Mount Whitney as far as height in the state of California. Mount Whitney is the tallest mountain in the contiguous U.S., but now that Shasta race is now defunct. It hasn't happened for years. And I found out, though, during that race, what a spectacular trail system there is up there. There is so many trails and so much to discover and to run on and hike on in the Mount Shasta area that it is one of my favorite places, and it is one place where I do want to go back again. It's just really, really interesting and just a fun place for an adventure. And you have to drive through the town of Mount Shasta, which is itself a trip. Mount Shasta was, before the Europeans got to North America, Mount Shasta itself was a sacred place to the Native Americans. And it also became, the Native Americans thought it was the home to their version of Bigfoot. And then all of a sudden, it also became a place to people who think a little differently. Some people think Mount Shasta is a gateway to the lost continent of what they call Lemuria, whatever that is. And the Lemurians. I don't know anything about that. I just know that some people believe in that, whatever that is. So there's a lot of people who believe in Lemuria and UFOs and all that kind of stuff who live in Mount Shasta. So if you're interested in that or curious about it, that's the place to go. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place to hike. And if you're a mountain biker, there are tons of mountain bike only trails there just for you. And it is just a bounty of places for the outdoors person. Just south of Mount Shasta is Mount Lassen National Park. Mount Lassen is just a cool, cool place to visit. I've camped there many times. I've hiked up to the top of Mount Lassen a couple times. Mount Lassen is a really very, very easily accessible place. It's doable if you're in decent shape, even for families. If your family is in decent shape, I did it as a kid, and I did it as a young adult. The last time Mount Lassen is still considered to be an active volcano. It's quiet, what they say, it's a quiet volcano, but still active. The last time it erupted wasn't that long ago. It was May 30th, 1914. So it's been maybe 110 years, 111 years. It's fairly easy to hike up to the top. And you get this beautiful view when you get to the top, too. Maybe a couple miles up to the top, you get this great view, and it's well worth taking the time to do it. I love this hike. I would love to do it again because it was just so much fun the times I've done it. Now, heading out of California, the places that I love to walk or run outside of California has to include Central Park in New York. Now, I love Central Park. I've only seen Central Park in the wintertime because when I go back to New York City, there's been a couple reasons why. Number one is to go watch my favorite hockey team, the New York Rangers. The only other reason for me to go to New York was for a work function, which was in winter. My favorite trip going back to New York was for a week to see a couple hockey games and then to check out everything else in New York. It was very cold. It was the end of February. It was very cold. It snowed a couple times. And I remember it snowing that night, so I said, I'm going to go to Central Park the next morning. It's fresh snow everywhere in the park. It was so beautiful. New York City with fresh snow is beautiful. You have to see it early in the morning because in a couple hours that snow turns to sludge and it gets all gray and grimy and icky, so it's not so pretty anymore. But when it's fresh and white and pure, it's just so beautiful. And Central Park is no exception to that rule. I walked through the park, starting at East Drive, past the pond. I stopped and watched a kids' ice skating competition at Wollman Rink. It was really cool. And then walked to the mall, which is one of my favorite places in the park, to Bethesda Fountain. What an iconic, I know I used that word already, sorry. What a just a memorable place that is, especially with all the ice and snow. It was cold. Yeah, it was really cold. It was about 10 degrees, but it was beautiful. And I finished at the Reservoir and took the 86th Street Station subway back to Midtown. That was really fun. Another place where I really liked running was at Jacksonville Beach in Florida. I was training for the CIM, California International Marathon, and I was visiting my folks in Jacksonville. My dad and stepmom used to live there. Well, my stepmom still does. My dad passed away a few years ago. But I was right in the middle of training, and I didn't want to lose my training. I think this was this October? Yeah, it was October. I didn't want to stop running because even though I was just visiting. But Florida, even northern Florida, has terrible heat and humidity. And I hate humidity. I don't mind heat, but the humidity just kills me. So I thought, where can I run that it's not going to be as bad? The beach. So I went to Jacksonville Beach, and the beach along there is about 22 miles long, and it's beautiful, and it's not too bad to run on. The humidity isn't that bad at the beach. So I got my miles in. It was great. And the beach is so clean and so well cared for that it was just a delight. It was wonderful. And I'll always remember that. And I've gone there since then a couple more times and gone to the beach. And it's just a wonderful experience. The last place I want to talk about is Oslo, Norway. I had a really wonderful run there. Years ago, I used to publish an underground music magazine, and I traveled throughout Northern Europe going to metal festivals. It was metal magazine, and meeting musicians, running into friends and other like-minded people. And my favorite festival was in Oslo, Norway. It still is happening. It's called Inferno Fest, and it takes place on Easter weekend. So it's still very cold, very, very cold. But I was really running a lot, so I didn't want to stop my running. So unlike everyone else who went to the festival, I got up early because I had already stopped drinking, so I wasn't hungover. But I headed out and got a nice 3-mile run in around Oslo, Norway. And if you get a chance to any of the European cities and in the winter, go out early and go for a run. Watch out for the ice. Got to watch out for that. But other than that, it is just so neat. Before anyone's awake, just go out in the wintertime, bundle up, and go out and go for a run or a walk in the city. It's just really a nice time. Everything is asleep. You can have the city to yourself, and it's just a great place to discover, to check things out, and to see the harbors and go near the bay, and to just see things from a different perspective. That was just a really, really fun run for me. I was able to get some good runs in this week. I took a day off on Saturday because my Rangers were in town. Well, not in, where they were in San Jose, I should say, playing the Sharks. And I figured that I had the day off, so I'll get a nice run in. So I went for a nice run Saturday morning and got some hill work in, got some good conditioning in. So that was fun. And today I'm going to get a run in after I get done with this. I've also started to lose weight. I've lost 5 pounds, and I'm getting back into eating as clean as possible and to really, really watch what's going on with what I eat, I should say. So I lost my train of thought. It's like, what am I talking about? All right. Well, I think that's it. I think I've talked enough here. But yeah, I thought I would share some of these fun places with you. And if you want to tell me your favorite places, you can. You can email me at martharunstheworld@gmail.com and check out the website, martharunstheworld.com. Oh, and I'm going to also put out the link to the new Martha Runs the World Facebook page because they deleted all that stuff a few weeks ago. That was really stressful. But I'll put out the link for that so you can like and follow the page. And let's get some more. I'd love to get more likes on that page. So if you want to do that, that would be amazing. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for being amazing listeners. I truly appreciate it each and every week. And until next week, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.